Thanks for staying with us. Now, fintech is no longer a jargon of the banking industry. Instead, it has become a familiar term in technology in general. The global investment in fintech ventures has doubled to a whopping $112 billion as compared to $51 billion last year. This is more than evidence to prove that the digital revolution is at the doorstep of the financial services sector. Now, this revolution is having a huge impact on all the banks and financial institutions globally. The term fintech is derived by joining two words, which is financial services and digital technology. In a nutshell, fintech simply prompts the use of digital technology by startups to come up with innovative products and services such as mobile payment, alternative finance, online banking, big data, and overall financial management. So how is this disrupting the traditional style of banking? Please let us hear what you have to say. Remember, you can join this conversation. Tweet at us at WadeShowAfrica1 with the hashtag WadeShow, or send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 081-803-84663. So Eke and Elsie, I'm going to bring in our guest like in a minute, right? I just want to hear your quick input. Let me start with Eke because she's in the financial sector, and I'll hear you from the digital sector. Eke, let me hear your thoughts. What do you think fintech and banking, are they truly, because like the story I took there, they're saying they're under pressure and all of that. Are they truly under pressure?
Yes, well, the pressure is real because, the fintechs are coming to eat from the market of the bank. So, of course, the pressure is real. And I like the story that you took. And I can tell you, and let me tell you the main point for me there is regulation. Okay? There are a lot of things that banks are not allowed to do or are required to do that makes customer experience very burdensome. But that's not happening on the fintech side because you can take your phone with limited information, you're already in, you're doing things, and probably you cannot do that in a commercial bank. But that's changing because the banks themselves are not going to fold their hands and wait for this to happen. And they're emulating, and you could see that the new products that are being churned out by the banks now are very similar to the fintech products. They're trying to make sure that they still maintain their space in the market. So it's really a disruption that everyone is, racing to this battle. And then again, the banks are big, they have the money and they have the power, but let's see how this plays out.
Fintech have serious financial backing,
Well,
did you see
the
global figures
here? Investors now, especially in
they
Nigeria.
Always do get investors. Yeah.
Okay.
My sister just moved to a fintech company. I mean, they got, was it $2 million? So fintech, they always have investors. If you do your what's it called, right, your documentation right, you would find investors. Yeah. What you are?
I'm not thinking
that money you just mentioned is one person's deposit in a bank.
Hey,
I know, but I know, but see, I know you guys have the money, but you see, the truth is, whether you like it or not, little drops of water make a mighty ocean.
No, I don't believe fintechs in Nigeria have more money than banks.
No, they don't. They don't.
So, I mean, if that's the case, then they have enough to play around with.
All right, so Samuel Ogbe is the digital economist and innovator, business strategist and modeler, and the ECO Evangelist, who is passionate about data and economic technology for leadership, people and place development, and a new Africa. Samuel believes it is time for Africa to be a real economy, and that we must all start to design or support tools for transparency, responsibility, and accountability. And he's joined us live in studio to discuss fintech versus banks. I saw you smiling when Eke was talking. So the story I took today about the banking sector coming under immense pressure because of the fintech players coming on board. Why is this so? Why are they under pressure?
Well, firstly, I would say the banks know that it's time to reform the way that they do things, from the traditional time, from the old time. So I think they're just pressured that all these young boys are coming up with these new ideas of the way to transfer people's money or the data of buying and selling, let's put it that way. And I think that's the major thing that any economy would run on. So I think they're just worried about that. But if they were going to be looking at it properly, they should be looking about how to move themselves faster than thinking about how to just be attacking the fintech companies. They should start thinking, how do we become more agile in the way that we're getting these regulations to these people faster so that the country is better in the way things are done with financial technology. Yeah.
Okay. I'd like us to get to regulations, but maybe EK will take that.
Regulation always looks like it's the last thing that comes.
Yeah.
But maybe it should start becoming the first thing.
We'll definitely get to it. I'm sure EK will come to that. But however, I want us to break it down for people watching that are not necessarily playing in the financial space or even in the digital space. What is fintech? Also, what's the difference between digital banking and fintech?
So digital banking is just, I want to give it simple words. Digital banking is just turning the bank from just a physical building to an online bank. Okay. Simple. So you have your online banking now. You can log in, see your account, transfer money. You can transfer money to buy something. You can pay your bills on it. So that's digital banking. Fintech is actually creating financial technology. So technology for financial services. So financial services is not really majorly banking. It's more like I want to buy something.
Payment solutions.
Yeah, you know, payment solution. I want to buy something. I want to get loans without a credit system, which I think fintech is really, this is one of the biggest reasons that they are winning, because the moment you start giving people money without the bank or the central bank, if you can give me money now free of charge and tell me, pay me back this money in 2 months, and we come up to a deal, and I can digitalize it immediately. There's no point why I should go to the bank anymore, because if you have, like Eke was saying, she was saying that there's $2 million of that money in somebody's bank. You can give me that $2 million instantly and tell me to pay you back that money in 5 years, and it wouldn't be a problem. So this is where the banks are getting scared, like, financial technology is going to just remove all of this away from us. So that would be the difference. It's basically the digital banking is just banks that have turned online, which they are moving towards. And they want to become fintech because they were the one giving us the service before. But fintech has removed that part from it and made it more innovative, where it's more customer-centric now. And I think more of these things are happening now because there's 7 billion people in the world. You know, you can't be controlling us anymore. You can't be controlling us anymore the way we are managing our relationship to develop things. Yes, yeah.
Let me come to traditional bank.
She said, let me come to traditional bank. So I've heard a lot that you have to say, but as the future progresses, do you think that there is room? Because right now, there is collaboration between some fintechs and the banks. What do you see in the future? Some people are afraid that traditional banking as we know it will die. Do you believe that there's truth in that? Do you believe that in the future there will be no space for traditional banking?
So I like to read a lot. So I've read this concept on robonomics. And if robots are going to take over the way you produce things, then the banks are going to get into trouble, because most of the people that they are funding would be the people that are producing things for the country. Those are where the big money is from, the industries. If robots then take over this, then I have to pay those robots through fintech, through financial services. It would be different. So I don't want to totally say that the banks will be extinct, but I think that the bank would have to evolve themselves into something more exciting than what we have right now. And this will involve things like, you have to move farther to things like the interest rate, inflation. How are those going to be digitalized? How are we going to get the real-time data of why inflation should be happening? Why should rice change price immediately in real time? And this doesn't happen. It's more of an independence thing that we've just increased our inflation now. It's an independent thing from. So to answer that question, AK, I think that the banks will not go extinct. We won't remove them totally. But I think that they should start to look into a collaborative way of how they can evolve themselves into more of the robonomic bank. I want to say that word because they should become robot banks. Let's just put it that way. Instead of trying to become, they should change their model. Let's just put it that way. They should change their model. You know, you were saying what I am there, a modeler. I think they should pivot their model towards a different way of being a bank than just remaining these traditional banks that are still trying to hold the diamonds and gold inside of it. Yeah.
Okay, so you want to go ahead, AK?
AK, come at me.
I'm coming to talk about regulation, which is very important.
Yes.
And I don't know if you I don't know to what extent you know about the regulation of what banks can do and what banks cannot do, and the kind of licenses that you have even for products that you develop. You know, there are restrictions on what the banks can do and how far that they can go. Do you think that it is time for stakeholders, just as Uwe has said when she was reading the news and when Fit was making that there's a time to also regulate the fintech space or remove some of these restrictions from banks so that they begin to operate and run at that speed that you want them. So what's the role of regulation here in creating the difference between the bank and the fintechs?
Well, the regulators now, if they listen, that would be great. And they hear us and see, there has to be a collaboration of various departments to form the regulation that we really need. And to be very honest about this, I'm part of the School of Politics, Policy and Governance. And when they asked me to submit what would I do if I wanted to run for president, I said we should have digital diplomacy and digital citizenships. And I think for the type of regulation that we need, even let's just not just say locally, let's say globally. The world on fintech and digital currency, cryptocurrency, all of this is still a test and run thing. Nobody really knows what really needs to be done. So I think when we're talking about regulations now, you're right. They need to move faster. They need to remove all these limitations that's limiting us from reaching the pivots that we could reach. And I think that there should be a collaboration of different ministries that are so secluded. You know, there's like the communication one. Who's that guy we just spoke about now? Limo, the Limont guy. Oh, wow. Yes. Lai Mohammed. Okay, that's him. Okay, so we need his department, the NCC, the orientation.
Yeah.
Yes, they need the orientation department, the Ministry of Digital Economy.
Communications, yeah.
They need to come together and look at what is the future of economy, not just finance anymore now, because we keep focusing on just the finance part of things, which is money. But I personally believe that money will change in the coming years, because if we're already looking at Bitcoin and cryptocurrency that has come immediately, we have started to create fintech, because if we go back into the history, you know, fintech started in Kenya with M-Pesa. And literally 2 years later, Bitcoin erupted from nowhere. That's shocking, because there must be someone trying to say, don't change money, Africa. Africa, stop, don't change money. Because if M-Pesa can bring money all the way from the Western world back to their country to just be able to reform the way they do things through just a simple system like M-Pesa, then something's changing. There's a fight, there's a war about the way money should be used. So I think in the regulation parts, I think these people will come together and bring in some new innovators.
I was going to say that, because
bring in some new thoughts.
Yeah, I think that you can't use the structure of
that's right, yes.
Regulation that you have, the outdated structure of regulation you have in your head, to work with the fintech system. You have to be able to tailor it.
So we need new people.
We need new
take
people.
a break.
Okay.
When we return from the break, I have a question. Stay with us.
Don't fight it.
All right, so if you're just tuning in, we're discussing fintech versus banks, and we want to hear what you have to say. Remember, you can join this conversation. Tweet at us at PlusTvAfrica1 for the hashtag WeShow, or send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 081-803-84663. So, all right, so before we went on the break, I was going to say that I have a question about regulations, right? You know how it's easy for banks, the traditional banks, to take your everything, you know, when it comes to your data, everything about you. Of course, now we have the BVN and all of that. So how are fintech companies, you know, because now you hear an advert on radio, they tell you that just open your phone, download an app, bam, you're already, you're already inside one bank and all of that.
Yes.
So how are they managing the biometrics, the data, and all of those things that are intricate when it comes to identification, especially in Nigeria, because we already have an identity crisis in Nigeria where people do not even know we don't first of all know how many we truly are, and we don't know the next person. We can't verify Elsie's address and all of that. It is, you know, so how would they manage that, especially when it comes to, you know, because fintech is big on lending. You know, how are they going to cope? Won't this, you know, eventually crash and burn?
So this part that you're going to now will be cybersecurity.
Yeah.
Very, very big, massive thing in the world. Last week we saw them hacking
everywhere.
into
It's not
meat.
only last
Into
week.
meat.
Yes.
I was like, okay, they're
They
hacking
started
for
with
meat.
the oil
What are
and
they
gas.
going to be hacking for now? Maybe they'll be hacking for human beings in the coming future. Who knows? But that's cybersecurity. And I think cybersecurity is a big issue around the world. It's not just locally. So, but if you compare the banks, the traditional banks, and the fintechs,
Exactly.
Traditional banks have more secured system. And this is where we have people like IBM and Cisco and the strong guys that have the networking system. But they've come to realize that even the wires and the electricity, that's just what we're using to secure these codes. Let's just call it codes written in the back end, used to secure a database of people. I don't think it's become so strong enough to do these things. So, like I said, like I was saying before, that we should bring new people to come and speak about these things. Personally, I built a platform, and I've been very, very particular about what that platform would look like for Africa and the rest of the world. And when we talk about geopolitics now, and why something should be in a particular place, the data of that place. So I'm a Nigerian because I have a Nigerian passport, and my Nigerian passport is connected to my BVN, is connected to all these things that give me the banking services in Nigeria that makes me have Naira. It's as simple as that. And if I then want to get dollar, I will exchange my Naira for dollar, but I don't have dollar passport. That's interesting.
Yeah.
It's interesting, isn't it, that works that way? But digitally now, if we're going to create a digital passport of myself with all these things to make sure that I now have Naira, which is now, this requires a sit down with many people and saying, what can this system look like? What would this sort of platform be like in this? Yes. What would this platform economy look like? Because that's what we are in now. We're in a platform economy. Banks now have platform where I can see my money instantly. Before I wouldn't. I would go there. They would give me a paper and say, "This is your balance."
Yeah, and they tell you what
yes.
to say.
So everything is platform economy now. You have a business. You put it on a platform. We're talking about Twitter now. It's just a platform. And what power are we even giving to all these people? So these are the kind of things I'm saying. Like if it comes to that regulation, they must sit down and look at what is the new system. What is this new way of doing things?
There has to be a synergy in that loop.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, it's a long way coming, but
Yeah,
I'm excited about it.
For me, you said something at the very beginning when you started talking, and it's about loaning and how a fintech platform can easily loan you money. And of course, when it comes to traditional bank, they want to do their due diligence, credit, to do your credit score
Yeah.
and know if you know where you stay. In fact, know basically everything about you and what you earn and how you're going to pay back. But for these people, it is different, right? Doesn't it mean that they are operating on a higher risk level compared to what the traditional bank? Because right now we are all looking at the disadvantage in terms of what the traditional banks are going through. How about the advantages as well with the regulations on ground? If we're saying, can we get to a point where the regulations are a bit lenient for them to also be able to run along with the fintech?
Yeah.
Won't it open everybody up to some serious risk issues that we might not be able to control, especially because of our data, like you just mentioned. Yes, the NCC, is it NCC now? Pantami people, what do they call them?
Yeah.
They are trying to say they want to do a lot with the NIN and let us make that our main identification, not necessarily the BVN. Until that is done, isn't it the traditional bank still enjoying a level of protection from risk in terms of regulations?
Well, you're right in the aspect that the traditional banks have built this regulation over time. So they have a more, I want to call them specialists. And this is what they should become now. They should become specialists on how they give us the solution to these things. So I might have new innovations in my head, but if I don't know what my daddy knows, I won't be able to become my father's son. Let's put it that way. So fintech are the babies. Traditional banks are the big, they have been there from time. They are the ones that created the things from time. So I wouldn't diss them on having the knowledge of what we should do.
Okay.
But if we're talking about risk now, risk is very interesting in how it has come over time. And risk management is a whole new ballgame entirely. But I want to make it this simple. I want to say this more simple. It's very simple and let it sound like as a new innovation. Before now, what we focused on was product and place. China makes us this. America has made cornflakes, Kellogg's. Everybody loves it. America is, Dubai sells a lot of gold and diamond. So it's about your product and your place. Now, we've moved into people and services. It's about who you are and what you're doing. So if we have moved the change like that, so I've moved away from this product, that means risk has changed. Risk is no more about what the value of the money is in that place. It's more about, you just went...
Who are you dealing with?
Yeah, you just went somewhere today and made money by doing the training. It's as simple as that. And that money you've got now will be able to buy you anything you want to buy around the world. Nobody's limiting you. You can go on Amazon now and buy something. It's changed. The whole thing has changed. So this risk thing that we focus on, or these things that we talk about, the banks already know that that's not the way it's working anymore. I can go to, it's about more about the connectivity.
The services,
yes.
Who are you, your brand.
And how I'm connected, and how I'm able to connect around the world, however it happens. But like I said before, the regulation they should be working on is the regulation on how are they protecting these data, you know, this big data, and how are these big data connecting to produce a real-time economy, a robotic economy.
We are back to robotics. So let's hear you.
I was going to say, you know, we've talked a lot about how the fintechs are threatening the banks and, you know, the disruption and everything, but I think the banks are responding. So I need you to share with us, in what ways do you think the banks are responding? How are they doing this? So we hear banking as a service, we hear, you know, banks trying to create open APIs. You know, what ways really are the banks trying to meet up in the market?
They're trying.
They're trying, no. They created Ada in my bank.
They're trying.
Talk to you.
Chatbox. Chatbot came in 2015. I've been following this journey for a very long time now, and I'm very passionate about technology because I feel like technology can change the whole world. Banks are trying. I'll clap for them. They are doing well. They can do more. They can absolutely do more if they change their model. And I keep talking about this model now because banks are the relationship between me and an industry, me and another country, that country and my country, that industry and that industry. They are these middle guys. And if they don't change their model of how they're doing business and changing, they can, let me calm down and say it like this. Let me say it like this. They are bringing all the young guys, the guys that are the tech guys, into the organization and saying, what are the latest technology you guys have built? Let's build it. But they're not bringing in and saying, you know what, we have this model now. We want you guys to tell us how you build it. And that's just the thing. If they can form their own model of, okay, you know what, all our banking relationship, all the way we're doing it, they know that fintech is focused on customer experience.
It's customer centric.
But then where is customer interface? It does not erupt. So where's the interface? Where's the interface of China to Nigeria? It still be done by the bank. It's still the structure. So, I think that we need to tell them that their model needs to change so that they can then give those tech guys a bigger work to do. And then we start it from Nigeria and see if the world does not change.
Honestly, I think if the banks are not careful, honestly speaking, because of the seamless way fintech companies are making it easy, because they are so customer focused. They are focused. So a lot of fintechs now, they have tailored their business to suit customer need, which is what, you know, traditional banks really did not really have.
Yeah.
Only very few banks had it, and even some have lost it.
True.
Right? So because of that, it's almost like now they are taking banks out of the picture. I don't need that middle man anymore, that bank anymore. I can even go direct. Even now, with us, we want to do purchases. We go direct to the company. We structure our payments. We pay you the money as long as we meet up to our obligations. So very soon, if the bank do not think like you're saying, if they don't think outside of that box that they have boxed themselves, they will lose out on everything because customers are actually getting direct services for what it is that they want.
But I think that the fintech people should still be a little bit shaky because the central bank is still central bank. It's connected to the government.
Okay, so let me take this message before I ask my question.
Yes.
It says, honestly, there is the need for the government to be more proactive in harnessing the potential in this great nation packed with inexhaustible talent. In what way has the fintech people been engaging the government, and what has been their experiences towards progress?
Interesting.
That's from Benson.
I was just saying that. You see, the fintech guys still need to calm down. So I told you I'm building a product, right? And I've been building my product now for 3-4 years. The first time I launched it out, PwC called me to come and do a presentation. And I decided to bring it down because of that. I was like, okay, I've touched something here. I've touched auditors. That's interesting. I think the fintech guys need to be able to understand that central banking is a concept that came out after Second World War. We needed to know how to keep the thing somewhere so that everybody can benefit. That's why we talk about risk now. It's like, when you're saying risk now, it's like...
Central bank is the protector.
Yeah, if my daddy has money now, I don't want you to just come and rob my house. You know, I want you to be able to know that my dad's money will be used. If you take it, you bring something that will still benefit more generations. It's a protector. So the central bank is interesting. The fintech guys need to be able to know how to sit down and have these conversations and be like, you know what, we're not trying to just be disruptors, but more like we want to be collaborators. And how do we form this collaboration would be the best way to start the conversation. You know, the young guys, I was speaking to a elderly person, and he said to me that young people in Nigeria just always want to make money for the next day. And they don't think like you that want to see things for the next 5 to 10 years. And I think this is how the fintech companies are coming hard. And, you know, as long as I can take care of my young lady here.
So they should start thinking of generational money.
No, I see.
Yeah.
Honestly,
I
can take care of you now. I can take care of you. I can take care of you now. You'll be happy. Yes, you'll be happy immediately. But if I cannot take care of everybody, that'll be a problem.
What you said is also what people are saying in terms of our social media engagement.
Fantastic.
That the Nigerian youth, right? We understand that you know how to type, you know how to go on this, but you need to be smart enough to understand that
the impact of what you're putting out.
you can't just come and shake the
go
people that have been there.
Yeah, you can't kick
so
your daddy
there
in the
has
face.
to be a collaboration. We're not at war, right? You know, see, it is this disruption that we keep that terminology. You know, once you use that terminology, you've created a wall between the traditional banking and the new. So even if you are actually going to bring innovations that would even help them
yes.
in the long run,
they'll
shut it down.
I can use example. I can use example of me and my daddy.
Sorry, Eke, what do you say?
Can I interject? I think that we should slow down and look at things that collaborations are already happening. Now, some of the banks that are offering microcredit are doing that in collaboration with fintechs.
Fintechs, yes.
It is actually the fintechs that power those nano lendings that you see. So if the collaboration happening is happening, and the discussions are happening, not just in Nigeria, international discussions are happening.
That's right.
Banks are sitting down and looking at banking as a service. So probably maybe sometime in the show, we probably will look at what banking as a service is. And I'm glad that our guest mentioned that banking has gone beyond just deposits and withdrawals. With your banking app right now, you can pay for utilities. You can book a flight. You can go and see a movie. So that collaboration is already happening, and they're partnering, they're having open APIs such that banks can share information in a safe way, and you can go beyond banking to do services. So I think that discussion is already happening. How fast it is another discussion to have, but it's inevitable. Collaboration is on the table.
It's the future, yeah.
Okay, I have a question, which is basically regarding the way people embrace fintech. I know when this fintech launches, they'll give you numbers in the next 6 months. We've done this number and that number. I mean, we cannot verify it, but we'll take them for what it is. However, I've had conversations with people where they tell you, you know what, I'm not sure I can put my money into these platforms because I don't, if anything happens, I don't know where to go, who to hold, right? So I guess this takes us back to regulations. What is the regulation they're working with, and how safe would you say it is if you're going to advise someone who is thinking the way I just described now in terms of the safety of their money and being able to have a CBN fight back for their money to get back to them, even if the platform is shutting down? So what's the safety measures?
So like I said, there's 3 legs to these things. There's the central bank that's still regulating the main bank. So if the central bank says interest rate is 11%, the bank will go and collect money from them, give us that interest rate at 20-something% so that they'll be able to eat some money. And then the fintechs are not doing that now. The fintechs are going to the small guys that have money and say, give us money, we'll put it through this, like she mentioned, microfinancing, and you're doing that through some guy that has plenty money and is able to open his own bank.
So how is the safety measure now for fintech in terms of people's money?
So like I said, if we put our mind, if we focus our mind on still looking at the structures that exist, you wouldn't see the innovation that is coming. That's the only thing that I can say in that aspect. We're already in a new world. From 2007, Apple phone, everybody's on Apple phone now. That came at the same time that platform economy came. You would wonder why Apple Store is one of the biggest. It's a concept. It's a platform economy. You can buy apps that would help your life be more efficient.
Okay.
I told you, everything is becoming robotic.
We are bringing you back to come and talk about this robotic matter.
Because I love robots.
So you're basically saying they shouldn't worry about the safety. They should just use the
So
technology.
what we have right now is that 67% of Nigerians still believe that they love their traditional bank.
Okay.
The other ones that saying those are the young ones. And the young ones, how much money do you have?
Okay.
So let's talk about it like that.
And
so
since
you don't have that plenty
something
money,
they are the ones that don't use banks at all still in that percentage.
In that percentage now, we're just talking about the bankers.
Okay.
So apart from that now, you have about 40% of Nigerians that are unbanked, which is a large amount of money.
large amount that the fintechs are capitalizing on.
Thank you. So they are trying to capture those people now.
Okay.
And so now you have a war between the bank and fintech about catching all these people that don't have banks.
And fintech are truly
But the banks are winning. The banks are the ones that have.
The banks are winning.
All right, thank you.
The banks
so
are always winning.
much.
The banks are always winning.
I think we need to bring you back because I love that conversation on robotics. Let's hear what that robotics is about.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, ladies.
Thank you.
Tomorrow is my mommy's because I did play the shout out for my daddy. Tomorrow is my mom's 65th birthday. Yes, happy birthday, mommy.
Happy birthday.
We love you.
Happy birthday.
Yes, that's her picture there. So happy birthday. Because I didn't want to do it on Monday, so I will do it today. So that's happy birthday, mommy. I love you. She's 65 tomorrow. Unfortunately, COVID, we can't do anything. Children in boarding house.
There's no COVID.
I don't say that.
Which COVID?
Please,
We'll wear face
the
mask.
address.
They are coming. I'm even inviting myself.
So happy birthday, mommy. All right, so before we go, do ensure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Twitter is at whopping1. Hey, this one the one block Twitter. But shall follow us there. Then at Instagram is at whopping, and make sure you follow us because we have very interesting things. Our BTS are off the hook. All right, so you can also interact with us further, drop your comments. Most importantly, we're planning a huge giveaway just to say thank you to you for watching and believing in the Ways brand and following our conversation. So do well to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at whopping1 and at whopping. Like, share, comment, invite your family and friends, and don't watch this show alone. Don't be stingy. Tell people to watch as well. All right, so if you missed today's quote, here it is again. Ignoring technological change in a financial system based upon technology is like a mouse starving to death because somebody moved their cheese. I don't know who has read that book, Who Moved My Cheese.
I have.
Please go and read it again.
Chris Skinner.
That's what's happening in Nigeria. They've moved cheese. Let's move with it, oh.
Yeah.
We'll see you guys live on Monday at 8 p.m. as we bring another great conversation to your screen. Enjoy.